guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would go over my reads of 2025. I only had about 25 books, ironically. I didn't read as much last year because I was kind of consumed with lifting and running, and my work schedule was still a little difficult, so I didn't have much time to read. I'm doing a lot more this year, but I thought since I didn't have very many reads, I would come in here and do a more in-depth review of the books. There will be spoilers, fair warning. If you want a non-spoiler review, I do have another video posted on TikTok, bookish.cj, if you want to go look at that for a non-spoiler review of the books as well. But with that, let's get started. So first I have Fearless. This is the third and final book in the Powerless trilogy by Lauren Roberts. This follows Peyton Gray, Kaya Azure, and Kit Azure. Peyton is entered into a trial with those that have gifts, abilities, and she pretends that she's a psychic after she saves Kai's life. It goes through, the first book was all about the trial, so she was going through, and then at the very end of that one, she ended up murdering the king. So the second book is Kai hunting after her to try to bring her back to the kingdom to face justice, along with Kit kind of stepping into the role as the new king. That one ended with a marriage proposal from Kit to try to bring the other lands, have them more trusting that don't have the gifted people, to try to get them to be more trusting and try to bring them back into trades and everything with their country. So this book is kind of following after the events of that, where Peyton agrees to the marriage proposal, and so her and Kai dealing with their feelings while she's trying to assume this role and having to go through these trials to prove herself as the future queen. I did ultimately enjoy the book. I feel like it was repetitive at times. It could have been a lot shorter. The back and forth between Kai and Peyton about, we can't, but we want to, let's just pretend, like, it was just very repetitive. And we kind of already did the trial thing in the first book. I didn't enjoy how they handled Kit. Ultimately, he did turn out to be kind of a bad guy. He kind of mentally broke down, and ultimately it did end up dying, and I wasn't a big fan of that. I did enjoy Kai and Peyton's ending. Of course, you want them to end up together, but I kind of hoped that Kit would ultimately step aside and let them rule together. But obviously that didn't happen, so I was a little frustrated with that. I did like the epilogue, though, with them having the daughter and naming her after Kit. So ultimately I enjoyed the book. It was good romance. It just I felt like it could have been a lot shorter to me, but I ultimately had a good time, so I would recommend the series if you want a good fantasy little romance. It does kind of pull tropes, I'm not gonna lie, from other series. If you like the Hunger Games, you would probably like this one, but it was a good time. I enjoyed it. So that was Fearless. Then I read We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. It has been made into a series. I've watched the first episode. I haven't finished it yet. It's on my list to finish this year. I've been kind of watching other things and reading a lot more, so I haven't actually gotten to finishing the show. This is following the Sinclair family. The main character they're following is Cadence. She and her core group, there's 4 of them, that each summer their family goes to this house and they all spend time together, and there's romance and lies and just all the stuff that goes on. Cadence seems to be kind of unbalanced as we're going this. There seems to be some kind of secret and things going throughout the book, and ultimately you find out that the other 3 in their little group ultimately had died in a fire that they had set, and so she had suffered a mental breakdown, but she was imagining that they were still with her. So ultimately we're seeing them throughout the story, but they're not really there, which was a major plot twist, which I think made the book worth it. I did struggle. It definitely is YA, and some of the writing style was kind of hard for me to get through at times, especially being used to more adult books. I think the twist made it worth it. You just kind of have to push through the writing style and just get used to it. But ultimately, I enjoyed the book. So if you want a little YA book, I would recommend it. It was a good time. Then we have 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. I will say I've read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I enjoyed that a lot more than this one. This one, our main character is Red. She's on a road trip with a group of her 5 friends for spring break. Their RV ultimately ends up breaking down, and they're being trapped by a armed man or person that's threatening them. So there's lies, and they must figure out how to escape, and this person that clearly wants them dead and everything, and there's just secrets and lies and twists and everything. It's a good quick little YA thriller, easy to get through. I just ultimately, I guessed one of the people involved, but I just enjoyed Good Girl's Guide to Murder a lot more personally. Then we have The Party by Natasha Preston. I get a lot of Natasha Preston books because when I was getting back into reading, I read The Cellar and just kind of pick up her books as they come out. They're just really simple YA thrillers. If you want quick, easy ones to get through, these are very bingeable. My frustration that I find the plots are usually fairly interesting, but the frustration I have is the characters always seem to make really dumb choices. You know, in the scary movies when they should be like running out the door but they're running up the stairs, the characters do this and they split up all the time, and it gets very repetitive and frustrating when they're making all the wrong choices and you just want to shake them. Ultimately, I did guess one of the twists in the book. She usually does have some good little twists in there, but you also come to expect them as you read the books. I have a good time with it. I don't know if I'd recommend it to everyone. I just like this author, and she was published off of Wattpad, so I kind of like to support authors that started in the fan fiction world and ultimately got published. So, but I don't know if I'd recommend it to everyone. Then we have Ask for Andrea by Noelle. I don't want to say the last name wrong. This one I absolutely adored. This follows Megan, Brescia, and Sky. They were all murdered, but they're like in kind of a in-between state. And so it's kind of like shifting between the three different women and where they're at. One of them is actually with the family of the man who murdered her. Is trying to figure out how to get in touch with them and try to find justice. But it is so good. The layers, the way the story flows, it was just an amazing plot. And to see these women that went through this horrible event and how they deal with that trauma afterwards in this in-between state, it was just really meaningful. The ending was amazing. The wife and kids, one of the ghost, I guess you want to call them, they're kind of helping them in their run for escape, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful story, and I absolutely would recommend this book to anyone. I had an amazing time with it, and it was just such a unique story as well, so I definitely enjoyed that one. And Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. I halfway listened to this one and halfway read it. This one is following three estranged siblings that reunite after the passing of their mother, and while going through their belongings, they discover a VHS tape that shows that their father covered in blood, and it was a dead body that it appears that the parents were trying to cover up the murder of, and they knew the kid that was murdered, and it just kind of goes through that and them trying to figure out what happened, and it flashes back and forth between the time period where that person went missing and the present time period. It was an interesting thriller. It's another one that had a very interesting concept. I again feel like there were some weird choices made by one of the main sibling, but I also guessed one of the twists, which kind of took the big twist, I guess. It kind of took it out of me because ultimately the brother was the one that murdered the other kid, and the parents helped cover it up. And I did guess that. Unfortunately, I never really liked him or his character, so it wasn't surprising at all. The way that the siblings did handle it afterwards was interesting. Different type of ending. They don't like resent him for it. Like, they still try to get in touch with him while he's in prison and such, and they kind of really change and improve their lives afterwards, which is really amazing. But guessing the twist kind of took me out of it, but I still enjoyed the story, so I still say it was worth it. I just guessed the twist, so that just kind of always takes a little bit out of the wind out of the sails, I guess. Then we have The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This one did just come out as a series. I haven't watched it yet. I've heard very mixed reviews. It's been a while since I've read it, so I'm kind of hoping that maybe I won't be as bothered with the inaccuracies, but I also know myself, and I probably will be, but maybe I won't remember all the little details. But this follows Hannah Wells and Garrett Graham. Garrett is a hockey player. Hannah struggles with intimacy after she went through a very traumatic event when she was younger, and she really likes a guy, so her and Garrett make a deal where he is helping pretend date her to get the interest of the other guy for her, and of course as they do this they become closer and closer and ultimately choose each other. It's a really good hockey romance story. I enjoyed it a lot. I hope this show is good. It's always amazing to see them brought to life. This is spicy, funny, and there's a really good found family with the hockey guys and everything as well. I'm excited to read the other books. I haven't. That's another reason I haven't quite started watching the show, is I heard there's a lot of reference to something that occurs in, I think, the second book, and so I feel like I need to get through those first so I don't spoil anything for myself or miss out on any Easter eggs for the future books. But ultimately enjoyed a good hockey romance. If you enjoy hockey romance, it's a one for you. Then, of course, Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This one obviously is another Hunger Games prequel because Suzanne is amazing, and the way she connects these books, it blows my mind. Her mind is amazing. This one's coming out as a movie in November, which is super exciting. I grew up in this era. This is dystopian, the Maze Runner, Hunger Games, Divergent. Like, I grew up in this era, and it's so exciting to have a book and a movie coming back, and I just absolutely adore that this is happening. This book is about Haymitch and his story. You think you know what to expect. Obviously, reading the Hunger Games books, you know he wins. He becomes an alcoholic. Like, you think you would expect it, but oh my gosh, it still broke my heart. The surprises, the fact that Haymitch wasn't even reaped. Like, really, of the District 12 people, the only one that was legitimately reaped was Peeta. Like, Katniss volunteered. Lucy Gray was essentially forced into it, and Haymitch was forced into it, and Peeta volunteered in the second Hunger Games of the tributes we actually see, but that just blows my mind and shows how even more corrupt everything is. The tragedy that he goes through, the fact that he never touched alcohol before everything that happened, the other contestants, just the relationships and the heartbreak in this book. I cried. It still got me. I thought I would be prepared and this one wouldn't get to me as much as the other ones, but it definitely did, and it will break your heart. And I'm so excited for the movie as well. I might try to reread it since I do have some time before that one, but I also have a lot of things to get through, so I don't know about that one. Absolutely love this book. Love Suzanne. I will continue to read everything she writes for the rest of my life. Okay, then Flock by Kate Stewart. No. I have so many issues with this book. I have heard so many things. It's supposed to be like a Raven Hood retelling, and I really wanted to love it. The main character is Cecilia, who moves to Triple Falls to work in a factory for her father in order to get money later in life, and she meets these guys. It is very confusing. Like, they're like, can you keep, there's all this secrecy and stuff, and she just lets them just not tell her things, and they kind of treat her like crap, and I don't like that. I don't like when they're when the FMC is treated that way. There was one male character that maybe could be redeemed, but I heard that he ends up dying later in the book, so I just don't know if I'm even going to finish the series. It's the one I've actually considered getting rid of, which I don't usually do. I just don't know if I'm ever going to reread it and finish them. I just didn't enjoy this. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I don't like when they're mistreated and just put up with it, so wasn't a big fan of that one. Not gonna lie, I can't really tell you much more about it. Then I have Pen Pal by Dathan Averbach. I don't know if I said that right. This one I absolutely adored. I don't know if horror is my genre. I've been kind of getting a little sprinkle of it in there just to try it out, but I kept seeing this one. I decided if we would try, and I really enjoyed this one. This is little stories of this man who's kind of reconstructing his past. That all starts with him as a kid when they sent off these balloons to try to get a pen pal for the kids, and ultimately attracts a really dangerous person into his life. The stories are very haunting. There's one that really stuck with me that was really scary to imagine. I could see it in a TV show or a movie or something. It really got to me, especially because I was binging this at nighttime. But I enjoyed the puzzle and seeing how this all flowed together and just the chills it gave me. I honestly really enjoyed this one, and it's not super gory. It's just unsettling in how things like this could happen in the real world. So I enjoyed this one. If you're thinking about getting into horror, I would suggest this one, especially because it's also a really quick one that you could binge as well if you want to see if you like it. But I really enjoyed that one. And the ending of that one definitely got to me as well. That was a rough one to finish. But then we have Twisted Games and Twisted Love by Anna Huang. Sorry, Twisted Love was the first one and this is the second one. I haven't read the last two yet. The first one is following Alex Volkov and Ava Chen, very grumpy sunshine in this one. And the next one follows Bridget and Reese. Very spicy books, definitely romance. I'm a found family person. Like in my romance series, I love when there's also a good core group of found family that jokes and there for each other. This one doesn't really have that. Like they do have their little group and they're all connected in a way, but you don't see much of them. So I struggle with that aspect. I wish we could see more, but that's definitely a personal preference. I know obviously this is a romance book about these characters, so again, that's a personal thing. I did have a good time. I kind of I didn't like the way that Alex treated her sometimes either. I feel like I was just getting kind of annoyed with the toxic guy vibes and then them suddenly changing everything. I don't know. I did ultimately enjoy it and I think it was worth the read. And I'm glad she didn't immediately take him back at the end either. I don't know if he really even deserved to come back, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this one a lot more, Twisted Games. If you like the Princess Diaries, this is essentially that, with Bridget and her bodyguard Reese, and then she ultimately has to go back to follow her duty. She's a princess and everything, and obviously they have like these forbidden feelings for each other and all the things. I really enjoyed this one. I love this one more than Twisted Love. I will say again, at this point, I was getting kind of tired of the broody guy. I just wanted a sweet golden retriever guy or something. I feel like I just had been reading a lot of broody men and just kind of needed to break out of that. That's why I kind of stopped in the middle because I wasn't sure how the next book was going to go and I just needed to branch out and do something else. But I still really enjoyed it. Spicy, romance, obviously good ending. I did enjoy it. I don't know, I was getting tired of the broody guy. I know, shocker, but anyway, moving on. And then Lisa Jewell, None of This Is True. I mostly listened to this one, which I think is the only reason that I was able to get through it. I kind of struggled to get into it. It really took a while to get adjusted to. It follows these two women who, one is a famous podcaster, Alex, and then there's another woman called Josie, and they're birthday twins, so they both turn 45 and run into each other at a restaurant on their birthday, and Josie ends up coming back into Alex's life and thinks she'd be an interesting subject for her podcast, kind of showing what happened in her life and everything. But obviously the title, None of This Is True, she just becomes a really toxic person in Alex's life, and it did frustrate me that Alex has kids and everything and still allows this woman into their lives for the sake of the podcast. Like, it just seemed like something you wouldn't do for your children are involved. Ultimately, of course, her husband does go missing at the end, and I don't know. I think I enjoyed the ending, the twist. It's been a while since I've read it. I think I enjoyed the twist at the end and the thought that you're like, what did I just read that was actually true, but you'll never really know. I kind of enjoy things like that every once in a while. It was just really hard to get into, like the first like half probably. Eventually you kind of get into the story and starts picking up later, but it was just a hard one to kind of get started on, unfortunately. Then Our Infinite Fates by Laura Steven. I actually had a coworker who let me borrow her copy initially, and then I bought this one later. She recommended it. It follows these two, Evelyn and this other guy who... Evelyn and Arden, they're two souls that have loved each other in every lifetime, and they're always drawn to each other, but they also kill each other in every lifetime. It's really fascinating. It kind of goes between a current life where Evelyn is determined to save her younger sister in that life before Arden finds her and murders her. It flashes between then and then their past lives and how they found each other, where they lived, everything they experienced together, and how their love kind of grew over the ages. Really interesting concept. It was kind of a little weird there towards the end, which makes sense, like whenever you're just trapped in this like time like hers, and they do like go throughout the times. They're just reborn after they die, and then they get to a certain age where they were all their memories come back, but they're always drawn to each other eventually. The ending is very kind of fascinating and how everything went down, but like I said, it was kind of weird. Ultimately enjoyed it. It was interesting. I always love when I get finally like find a good unique concept, especially with how recycled romance books and things get. So this was a unique concept. Definitely recommend it. It was a beautiful story at times, and just really gets you thinking too. But I really enjoyed that one. And then Hannah Nicole Mayer, Accomplice to the Villain. This is the third one in her series. This is like The Office meets Fairy Tale Land, and I love these books. It always takes me a little bit to get back into them, just since there's usually like a year in between, and I kind of have to remember everyone and what happened, because I don't really want to reread them every time because I have so many other things to read. But eventually I get back into the story, and I love it. I love Evie and the villain and how they grow. It was very frustrating how sometimes the slow burn of this story, but the humor and the everything, the found family, just every single character just makes up for the slow burn that we're suffering through. It is kind of frustrating that Evie has been good, and then finally the villain is all in, and then she switches up, but it's fine. I love seeing her growth and everything, and the twists in this book are always good. There were a lot of point of views in this one. I didn't mind it because it did kind of break it up, but I can see why some people were frustrated because it was very like back and forth to all these different characters. But I enjoy getting to see the other ones and their stories because I love all the characters in this book, and I love this series so much. One of my god tier series. I absolutely love it. Will recommend it to everyone, and I can't wait for the next book. The Day After the Party by Nicole Trope. It's an interesting one. It's about a woman named Caitlin who, the day of her birthday, she has a party, and then she wakes up the next morning in the hospital and doesn't remember anything that happened. Then she has her best friend and her husband. Kind of some cliche twist in there. It's a quick little day read, little thriller palette cleanser. Just you can kind of guess a lot of the twists. Ultimately, enjoyed it. Would I recommend it? Probably wouldn't be one to occur to me, but a good little quick read if you want a quick little thriller. But again, kind of some cliche twist. Obviously the best friend and the husband. I mean, you can probably guess that just from me saying that there was a best friend and the husband. So, but that was that one. Kind of quick, I know, but some of these I don't remember everything since it's been so long, and the ones I didn't love, they don't always stick with you as well, you know. Youth Juice by E.K. Sethu. Again, horror isn't something I've done a lot of. This one's kind of supposed to be like body horror and kind of revolves around the beauty industry. It follows Sophia, who joins a storytelling team at Hebe, who's like a luxury skincare wellness company. She ends up getting this cream. She's always had a bad habit of like biting her nails really bad, or they scar and get thick and calluses and everything. And she gets a cream for it that seems to heal, and it starts like kind of affecting the rest of her as well. She kind of falls deeper and deeper into this company. You can kind of guess by the cover where this is going on what's in that cream. Obviously, they're taking some of the interns and for the youth juice and taking their blood for that. So you can kind of guess where it goes. It really tried to lean into the body horror. Like, it really describes the biting thing in detail and some of the decomposition of some of the other women. I wanted it to be better. It really just, again, was kind of slow at times. It just felt like it was going nowhere. I really wanted it to get, I think, even more into the horror aspect of it, but a lot of it was like thought, like her internal like questioning life and where she was gonna go and just things like that. And that wasn't what I wanted in the horror story, but it was okay. It's supposed to be satire, which I feel like some of the satires I've been reading lately aren't really leaning as much into the satire. I feel like this could have been more that way and not so much her rambling in her thoughts. But it is an interesting concept, but I probably wouldn't recommend it if I'm being honest. Then Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. I read Bride first for Ali Hazelwood. I've also now read The Love Hypothesis. Loved both of those so much. I'm so excited for the movie for Love Hypothesis. I love Bride. I'm glad I read it first. I know it's kind of her like debut into like the supernatural romance, and I thought she did a great job. I love her sense of humor in these books. The romance good as well, but if it's a funny book, I usually love it. This one was good. I read it mostly on my lake trip and everything during the summer, following Maya and Connor. She's 23, he's 38. Obviously they like each other, but he's very insistent on the age gap. It's a reason not. Again, this is one that is beating a dead horse with how much he talks about the fact that they're so much different in age and everything, and it just it gets annoying sometimes when you're just like, at this point, with how many times you keep having to repeat that to yourself, do you even believe it at this point? But they're at a wedding, and of course they have all the things at the wedding keep going wrong. Again, I just love the humor of the story in it, with everything that keeps going wrong in the story and at the wedding. But I had a good time with it. I'd recommend it. Good little summer read. Just know that he, again, is just constantly on the age thing, so it gets a little old at some point, if I'm being honest. Then we have The Man Who Died 7 Times. Yashui. I'm not even gonna say it. There's the author. This one's a time loop book. This is following a grandson, Hisataro, who's fallen into a time loop. He apparently will randomly fall into a time loop. This is a normal occurrence for him. He will relive the same day 9 times. This just randomly happens. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It'll just randomly happen to him. So he experiences a day when they're having like a family get together, and then suddenly the next version, his grandfather is murdered, which was something completely brand new that happened. And he kind of goes through that, and he's trying to solve the murder by doing different things to the family. There's some really funny moments. There's a really good fight between some of the family at one point that was hilarious. Ultimately, the little twist at the end was interesting. There's like an inheritance and all this stuff, of course, and the family all want the money and keep trying to plan and all the things to try to get it, but he's just trying to solve the murder. It was ultimately a good book. I enjoyed it. It was my last read of the year, actually. It did have a good time. It was just a little hard to get into in the way they speak sometimes. Not a big anime person. It's kind of reminding me of that sometimes, but ultimately it was good. I enjoyed it. If you like a time loop, you'll probably enjoy that one. You just have to get used to the writing style for a little bit. And then last but definitely not least, I read 5 Freida McFadden's. I read The Tenant, Do Not Disturb, The Crash, and then I read The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret. I've now read the 3rd one as well. I love Freida McFadden books, so I've enjoyed every single one. I like some more than other. Never Lie is still my ultimate favorite so far. But I enjoy them. Not everyone does. They're quick thrillers. You can usually get through this like not even in a day. They're good palate cleansers. There's always good plots and twists. I always think it's going one way and it goes a completely other. Sometimes I'll guess one twist and then there'll be a bunch of others, or one major one thrown in at the very end. So I enjoy these. I'd always recommend this to someone that's trying to get into thrillers. The Housemaid was just made into the movie with Sydney Sweeney and all those people. And then I actually thought they did a pretty good job for a book to movie adaptation. There was a little bit of the character interactions that were left out, which I felt like was kind of weird, especially for the setup for this book. Ultimately, I had a good time with it. Definitely recommend it. This follows Millie, who goes to clean for the Winchesters. Nina seems really nice in the beginning and seems to start going, but then starts getting on to Millie, just nagging on her, yelling at her, seems to be a little mentally unstable. She starts hearing these things about her being unstable, while she seems to be falling for Nina's husband. There's also a daughter there as well. There's also a gardener or landscaper, Enzo, who's involved in the situation as well, who's kind of warning her away. Ultimately, the twist at the end is, of course, that actually Nina was acting crazy to try to get her husband to kick her out, because he will randomly lock her in a room and make her do bad things to herself to punish her for his transgressions that he thinks she's done and everything. And he's convinced everyone around her that she's crazy, and so she plans to get Millie to come in and replace her and hopefully kill her husband, because Millie went to prison when she was younger for murder. Really good twist. I enjoyed it. This one also had a good twist as well. I was kind of guessing towards this one, but there were still, again, twists that I didn't see coming. Ultimately enjoyed it. The 3rd one was good as well. Probably my least favorite of the 3, though, if I'm being honest, but really good. They're going to make the 2nd one into a movie, so read them, enjoy them. They'll come out. The Crash, really enjoyed this one as well. Following Tegan, she's pregnant. She gets in a car crash during a snowstorm, is found by this man who takes her home to his wife, who is a nurse and is helping her, and ultimately finds that she's in a very dangerous situation. They kind of make it seem like the husband is abusive and cruel to the wife. But ultimately the twist in that one is it's actually the wife that's the crazy one that's trying to keep her in order to keep her baby. So, crazy book. I enjoyed it. I just love all the twists in these. The Tenant was good. Follows Blake, who gets fired from his job, and he has a fiance, and they ultimately need help with money, so they decide to hire Tenant and enter Whitney, and she at first seems like a good tenant, perfect, exactly what they wanted, beautiful, all the things, and slowly she starts to do all this crazy stuff and strange noises, just all this crazy stuff, but ultimately in the end the wife was involved in setting all this up to get revenge on him for cheating on her. It's just another crazy one. Absolutely enjoyed that one. I listened to that one a lot. I kind of listened to the Housemaid ones and the Tenant. I kind of listened to those while I was doing other things, and then would read like the back half of them once I got into it. And then Do Not Disturb, following Quinn, who committed a crime. She ends up murdering her abusive husband, makes a run for it, ends up at this after a snowstorm, she ends up at this broken down little motel. Unfortunately, not the safe haven she thought it was. Kind of crazy stuff happened in this one too. Ultimately, the sister that she has was the crazy one trying to set her up and all the things. But another twist and turns. I would always recommend Freida McFadden books. I think they're a good time if you want a quick little thriller. But yeah, sorry that's really long, kind of drawn out, but I just wanted to kind of get my thoughts out about those books. I wish I would have done it like at the end of the year when my thoughts were a little more recent. But that was my 2025 wrap up. Thanks you guys that did listen to this. Hopefully I'll get better at this, but thank you so much. Bye bye.